Hello, this is Jamie Magrich. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It's pretty simple. Let's get started. Okay, well, I'm going to be using the Forever Blossoms stamp set. I'm going to be using the main image here and this sentiment. And I'm going to be using this embossing folder from the Ornate Garden Suite, the Ornate Floral. It's a really pretty embossing folder. And one ink pad, Early Espresso. For the paper, I have a 1/2 inch strip of Whisper White to stamp the sentiment on, and a strip of Early Espresso that's just a 1/8 of an inch larger, so I get just those little 1/16 of an inch borders. I have 4 pieces of Early Espresso, which is 1 3/8 inch square, 4 pieces of Whisper White, which is 1 1/2 inch square. So again, these are just 1/8 of an inch larger than the white. So we'll have a nice little border there. I have a piece of Pineapple Punch, which is 4 by 5 1/4, and that's what I'm going to run through that embossing folder. And I have a piece of Early Espresso, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and my card base, which is thick, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I'm also going to be using a few of these sequins. These are from the basic adhesive back sequins. I'm going to be using these white ones. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and run this Pineapple Punch piece through my embossing folder, through my machine. I'm just going to place the paper in there, close it up, and this is an image. It doesn't really matter if it's straight, but there's a line on there so you can make sure you get it straight. Okay, and I'll be right back. I'm going to run that through my die cutting embossing machine. Alright, there we go. That's how it comes out. Isn't that pretty? I love this embossing folder. Okay, so now we need to do some stamping, so let's put these brown pieces aside. Let's stamp the sentiment first. Ink that up. I'm going to stamp it in the center of this piece. Actually, I'm going to move this paper so I can actually see where my edges are. I'll need it for the next step, but make sure you guys can see it. Stamp it down, hold it for a minute. Alright, awesome. Perfect. Let's set that aside, let it dry. I'm going to bring this piece in, these little squares, and I'm going to stack 2 squares butting up against each other. Can you see what I'm doing there? Let me show you on this without the paper, just so you can see what I'm going to do. Just like that. So I'm going to stack them like that, 2 of them side by side, but I want to have the scrap paper underneath it because it's going to stamp off the card, and I don't want it to go all over my Stampin' Pierce mat. They don't have to be perfectly lined up, but the closer you can get it, the better. Just trying to find the right, nicest sides. Come on, line up. Okay. See how I have them? They're not perfect, but they're pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to ink up this flower. Make sure it's inked up well. Moved. Whoops. Okay, Okay, and I'm going to stamp it. The first one, I want to get more of this top on the top one, and this flower here pretty much centered into that one below it. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to ink it up again. I'm going to stamp it again. This time it doesn't really matter. I'm going to stamp it a little bit different. I want this flower here and a little bit more of those flowers. And I think you'll notice on my card, I didn't even keep them lined up when I stamp in my card. I just... Perfect. Okay, that's all the stamping. Now we can assemble our card. And I'm going to bring in Tombow Mono Multi-Glue so I have a little tiny bit of wiggle room here. I'm just going to put a little glue on the back, center it on my brown piece, try to get it even. If it's not perfect, that's fine. Now these two I kind of want to keep lined up, or sort of lined up. The other two, it doesn't matter. Glue on the back. So this one's going to go down here. Okay, sentiment, we're going to glue onto that strip, so we might as well do that now. There's not going to be much of a border, just the tiniest little bit. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and adhere our yellow piece to our early espresso layer. There's going to be just that 1/16 of an inch border, because it's 1/8 of an inch smaller than the yellow piece. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some dimensionals. And I'm going to put dimensionals on all the back of these. Just need a few. Come on, stick your thumb in it, pull it off. There we go. I'm going to add some more to the other corners. I just think I'd like it better. Don't really need this many, but I like them to stay put when I'm putting them on. Okay, I want to bring in my yellow piece, and this one is going to go up here. It's going to have, don't press it down firmly yet, just set it where you want it. It's got about 1/4 of an inch here, a little bit more on the top, and then this one will go below it, And it's going to have about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch between them. Okay, and this one is going to go down a little bit. This distance should be the same there. And then this one here. I'm going to try to keep your edges lined. These edges. That looks pretty good. When you get it where you want it, go ahead and push it down. Now we're going to bring in our sentiment. This one's going to go a little bit lower. That's good. So I need to put dimensionals on this side. Come on. Alright. I need a little bit of glue on the top part of this side. The bottom part's not going to, it's kind of going to be floating. And it's not going to go all the way to the edge, so I'm going to need to trim that off. That looks good. Get it where you want it, put it down. I want it down a little bit more right there. Okay. And I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to bring in my snips. Hold the edge of the blade flush against the card and trim that off. I flipped it over to the back so then I know if I got a fairly straight snip. Okay, then we're going to adhere this to the front of our card. And this is going to have just the tiniest little bit of a border. So line up so you get the 3 edges. Set it down. Okay, now I'm going to come in with those sequins. I'm going to use these white ones. And let's see, let's bring in the take your pick tool. Use my putty end. Just going to pick up the sequin. Well, maybe. Maybe not. There we go. Dog hair on there. Put one here. One over here. Add one down here in this area somewhere. Bring your eye around. I think I'll put it here. Okay, there we go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. It's a little bit different. Depends on where you put your boxes. Well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.